Hello, my name is still Tate Schwartz.
And I'm still Emme Davis.
And this is another episode of the Dumb Yearbook podcast that we do. This time, we're going to do something fun.
Something bigger, bolder, brighter, you might even say.
Our yearbook client sends us a lookbook of yearbooks every year. It's Jostens. This is the 2023 yearbook, which is linked in the description, the virtual version of it. And in the book, there's a bunch of yearbooks that they've gotten through across the nation and presented their cover, some spreads, to highlight their achievements. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to go through each of these books and make this a teaching tool. So we're going to say one thing that each book does really well and why, and one thing each book does not do well and why. Mostly because all the resources out there will show you fancy, expensive books and show them why they're all great. But we think that if we tell you why some books are bad, even though they're on the front pages of the lookbook, you can really elevate your book to the next level. We're going to start off with the badger on page 6, link in the description. I guess I'll start with the best thing about this. One thing that this book does well is that all their headlines look really professional. And there's a couple reasons why to do that. For one, they're all different. All the headlines contrast with each other. There's not really two of the same headline because they use different typefaces and different colors. But even within the headline, all the words contrast with each other. For example, there's a thematic typeface, that's a serif, and there's a sans serif one where they can do condensed and they can do regular different fonts. And so they use that throughout the book to not make everything feel repetitive. It makes the content feel, oh yeah, this looks like something a magazine would do, and it'll make your readers feel like, oh yeah, this just looks good. That's dumb, but it's true. So the lesson is make your headlines not look the same with each other by using all sorts of different design tips, right? What's the bad thing that this book does?
Something bad that this book does is it's still in the headlines. Everything else is really, really good about this book, but there are no thematic headlines. And I know this might just be none of the thematic spreads were submitted to the lookbook, but as of right now, there are no thematic headlines. The book title is The Way We Sway. There are no The Way We's or Sway in any of the headlines.
That makes it sad.
Yeah.
Right. Next up is the Hornet. What is our great thing about the Hornet?
Something really, really good about this book is that they made sure that their best photo was the biggest photo. It catches your eye, it makes you interested in the spread. For example, there's the pep rally, there's the football player, there's a cheerleader. Those are things that you'll think of and you'll look back at it and you'll be like, that's a great picture. I remember that moment because it's a big picture.
It's really easy to say, oh, your big photo should be the biggest, but in practice and in execution, it's sometimes really hard to make sure that your best photo on the spread is the biggest. So just making sure that you spend time planning out your spreads correctly so your biggest photo is the best will make your pages that much better. The bad thing this book does is the gutter, I feel, is a concern. We can't see the effect of the gutter truly, just using the lookbook, but I imagine that on this Rockin' Benton spread in the top left corner of the right page, that dude's hand is just going to get cut off by the gutter, which he's the subject. Nothing in the subject should be cut off by the gutter. And then on the spread next to that, Rolling in the Rock, I feel like that headline is so close to the gutter that it's just going to get eaten up. And, I mean, if these spreads were cram-packed with coverage, it would be a little more forgivable, but a bunch of these spreads just have big empty white space on the outside. Props on not having white space on the inside, but if you have so much white space just on the spread, you should do all you can to make sure that as minimal of amount of stuff is in the gutter as possible.
So our next book is The Dragon. Tate, what is something good about this book?
I love these just like fake rhetorical questions we ask each other
Yeah.
to transition.
Oops.
Our apologies. We're just gonna get into it. Am I doing good or bad?
You're doing good.
I'm doing good. That's good. Something good this book does is that all these spreads have a stripe on them. And that's not just because it's thematic, it's on the cover. It's because the stripe serves a purpose. It serves a purpose as to group things together. For example, on the Homecoming spread, this blue stripe groups that one big mod together. If that stripe wasn't there, the spread would look a little more scattered and a little bit not organized, but because that stripe is there, you can clearly tell that this is that. That sounds dumb, but this is that. On other spreads, it also serves as an entry point. For example, on the Leave Them Mystified, even though the headline is on the top right of the page, which isn't normally where people look first, the stripes lead the eye up to the headline, which is where they should start after they look at the big photo. So even though that these stripes do look cosmetic, they do serve a purpose, which all of your design elements in your regular book should do. So just as you put spreads together, think, yeah, but what does it do? You can cut a floss line like that. What's a terrible thing?
Not terrible.
Terrible.
I don't want to be mean to them. I don't know them. They're from South Lake, Texas.
Oh, you're right. They're from South Lake, Texas. We shouldn't be mean to them.
Exactly.
They have it worse enough already.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, our bad thing about this book, or something that needs to be changed, or that we would change, is not putting things over photos. So in their divider, which is the biggest one on the left page, they have that purple line cutting off one of their people's heads. That's not great. If it were you, you wouldn't want your head cut off, so let's not cut off other people's heads, right?
No revolution?
There aren't other examples of that, Tate.
I know.
There's just that one.
It's just
Yeah, just don't do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a design element just to put a design element there. It's not enhancing the coverage. It's just covering it up, which is the one thing as a designer you shouldn't do. So don't do it.
It's covering the coverage.
We're not funny. Alright, next. Now we're on the VO, and I'm just gonna take charge with the bad thing on this. All these spreads is the contrast. It wasn't executed the bestest here. I can see in all these headlines that usually they have a word that's colored. Like, for example, on the top left, small one on the right page, Ruthless Rivalry. They put ruthless in orange because, that's emotion. That's orange is going to give us, it's not white, so it's going to be more interesting. But because it's on a full orange spread, the word rivalry is the thing that stands out. And maybe that was intended, but I don't imagine that they can't help falling in love on the greenish small one. The words that stand out are can't help because it's white on green. The can't help is the thing that stands out. I think the falling was supposed to be the thing that stands out, but because it's green on green, it doesn't work. So contrast isn't just changing colors, it's just making sure it contrasts from what it surrounds. This includes photos. If you have photos that are a certain color, if you make text also that color, it's also going to be in the background a little bit. So when you do, this book actually does a lot of contrast with their headlines, sometimes too much. If you look in even the cover with the book's title, you've got contrasted size, typeface, color, I think font. It's a lot. I think it pulls it off, but just be wary that sometimes making things different just to make things different is not the best.
Yep. Something good this book does is consistency. So they're consistently putting in these drawings that we see on the cover. We see them throughout the book on all, 6 of these spreads that are in the lookbook. They have a little line drawing of one of the photos on the spread. The only thing I would change about this is not putting the line drawing of the photo, because then it's like, why do you even have it there? But I think it's a cool concept, a cool idea, and it's a nice way to break things up.
Break things up, yep. It's unique, and unique is always good in your book.
The next page is from Our Tale.
Clamo.
But it's at a middle school, and we feel wrong judging middle schoolers, so we're going to skip that one.
No.
Alright, so our next book is The Clamo. One of the things that we wanted to just revise about this book, if we could, is their cover. The cover has a really big chunk out of it. That whole bottom right corner is just missing.
Gone.
First of all, it could damage your pages. That's not something anybody wants to happen, especially you if you put in this much work. So maybe don't do that next time.
Well, don't do it at the place that people are probably going to hold their books.
Yeah, that too. If you're gonna cut your cover, I would say cut it in the middle
Yeah.
So you can have like a photo peeking through. I think that could be cool, but not in a corner.
Wait, you're saying you don't want the population statistics of the high school peeking through the cover? That's not exciting to you?
Maybe it's exciting on the first page,
Okay.
but not on the cover. And another thing about the cover is on the spine you can see that it has the title of the book in different colors than it does on the main part of the cover. That's just a little weird.
Yeah. One thing this book does well, though, is that their design enhances the coverage. Well, it's about 50-50. They've got some good ideas with design. If you look at the page 20 on the upper left of the right page, you have this stripe going across the spread, across the dominant photo. And that's cool. It highlights the eye. It's unique. It's something new to look at. It makes the spread memorable. It's cool. Then you have the big spread of the art with the black and white photo. That's sick. It's a photo. It's art. It's black and white to show the emotion, pure, raw. It makes the spread different. It makes it cool. These are all great things. What's not so great is our divider here on the left page, where the letters cover up the subject's hand. I mean, it's kind of hard to do with that photo, but it's a pet peeve that when text or shapes cover up subjects in photos. So this book, overall, great with its design to make the coverage stand out. The coverage is helping the design. One of those ways is correct, but good job, Clamo.
You want to see their old books? Because I looked it up. I was like, oh, maybe they're a new yearbook. 1921.
Oh. They've been Clamoing for 100 years now.
A little more.
Should I keep they've been Clamoing for 100 years now in the actual edit?
Maybe. Our next book is The Etruscan. I'm sorry if I said that wrong, people from the Etruscan. I'm from Michigan, so I say it weird. Anyways, something really, really good about this book is that you have photos documenting what your school looks like. Not a lot of books do this. A lot of books focus on the people, which is a really, really good thing, but you also want to focus on the where, not just the who. So having pictures of your school in the moment, in the present, to document it for history is something very unique.
Cool. One thing that this book doesn't do that well is having design elements. Well, I guess just having thematic design elements. The only thing about these spreads that looks consistent is the typefaces. Other than that, it's just a bunch of blocky rectangles. It makes this book forgettable. I see on the cover they have these letters that the text that goes on top of each other in a stack. That's not in the spreads that we see. I see these letters that have photos in them. I don't see that in the spreads that we see. Maybe it's not in the spreads that we see, but you gotta make sure it's on every spread in case Jostens decides to cherry pick your spreads for the lookbook. So just making sure that your theme has a design element that's not just text is important. Next up is The Echo from Grand Blanc, which is my self-proclaimed rival yearbook. Our advisor, he grew up from Grand Blanc, and he loves The Echo. I am anti-Echo. I think all their books are garbage. Sorry, not sorry. So we're going to do two bad things about it. All these opinions are only mine and do not express the opinions of the program. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, the first thing that this book doesn't do well is that it does things just to do things, design-wise. You can see in the divider, it's sideways. Alright, that's the only sideways thing in the book. You can also see on the front end sheet, which is the top left spread on the right page, they have text in the shape of letters, which is really hard to read. They do these things, and you see them for the first time, you go, oh, that's cool, but it's not readable. And you need to make sure your yearbook is readable, because these are a bunch of dumb high schoolers that just got a 200-page book, when usually they don't read at all outside of school. So it makes it a challenge to go through. The text is just a brick of text, but now it's in a funky shape that makes it even harder to read. Even on this off-route spread, which is the bottom right one on the right page, you put the text on the photo, and yes, you did fade out the photo on the bottom, but you still have dark text on dark background photo-wise. And it's a challenge, just making your book even accessible. Some people have eyesight problems. Wow, Grambling, now you're ableist. That's crazy. So just do things with the purpose of making it easy to read is important. Emme.
Okay, the next thing is that they use a lot of cutouts. It's very cutout dependent, the way that they built their theme, which means that you don't really get to see the full photo. And I think seeing the full photo helps with the meaning of the photo and the way that you're trying to use it. If you just have a cutout, you don't really know where that photo came from, if you got it off the internet, all that sort of thing. And also, sometimes it can make your people look like they're floating. On that divider, there's a person diving, and it looks like they are diving into nothing from nothing. Not very great, not what I recommend. So trying not to do that might be in your best interest.
Maybe these divider photos were actually great photos, but now we can't tell because you took the background out of them.
The background is just as important as the subject.
Yeah. Cutouts are a plan B option. Don't do them as a plan A option, please. Sorry, I think we were too harsh on Grambling.
Sorry, Grambling.
I hate you, Grambling.
Our next book is The Legacy. This is going to be the last one for this episode since it's getting a little long. Our good thing for this book is we really like their dividers and their closing. I would love to see their opening and some of their other dividers, but unfortunately those aren't in this book, so I don't get to take a look at them. But I really like the way that they make the full photo the full page. They add a little table of contents. They bold or make different words stand out in their copy. And they make sure to have a caption. Captions are important. There have been some spreads in here that don't have captions.
That's true.
So make sure you have a caption.
All right, my turn. We're proud to present the Legacy at Green Valley High School with the award of Most Forgettable Cover of All Time. First off, we have this verbal just plucked straight out of I'm a first-year advisor. What should my theme be? Table. Then we have the cover itself. It has colors that aren't in the book. Like, it only has green and blue, and there's purple and maroon inside the book. It has this paintbrush design element, which, I mean, it's cool. It's in the other spreads, but it's also a little basic, and you're relying so much on it. I'm doing a dumb voice. The lesson here is this seems like a default book. Do something a little more unique.
Seems
please.
Like you searched yearbook themes on Google and went with it.
Right now, the rest of the staff is doing theme development for next year, and our advisor has banned us from looking at lookbooks and using Pinterest. And this looks like this used Pinterest and only Pinterest.
Yep.
As their theme inspiration. Anyways, that's all for now, folks. I hope we didn't bumble and mumble too much. We had fun.
Thanks for listening. Make sure to like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Oh, and don't forget the notification bell.
Bing!